Hi everybody, it is the morning of the 19th of April 2022, which means the DayZ 1.17 update is going live this afternoon at 1 o'clock Central European Time for PC and 2 o'clock Central European Time for console. So I was just kind of doing my prep and I thought I should really share this with everybody. I know this is a bit of last minute, but you might find it useful. Plus, if you look in the description below this video, I'll put a link to my updated 1.17 files for Churnerus, so you've kind of got early access to those as well. Now, first thing though, if you're watching this before it goes live and soon after, one of the things you want to do is make sure you visit Bohemia Interactive's GitHub and download the old files, the 1.16 files. So I'll put a link to that in the description below the video as well, so you can go code and download that. Now, that isn't anything really to do with what we're doing today, but it's always useful to have a copy of the old XML files for DayZ on your hard drive for when it comes to doing comparisons and things like that. So always have 1.16, so then when 1.17 arrives, you can have that. That normally arrives over the next couple of days. So in preparation, I have to do quite a few things, because I've got a fair few number of console servers, and this video is mainly going to be about updating console servers. I've got 3 for Xbox and 3 for PlayStation. And the critical things is these aren't vanilla servers, these are modded servers. So they're modded in terms of loot, and they're modded in terms of build anywhere and custom object spawning, so custom areas as well. Now, if you got a little bit excited about the fact that you're going to get access to my 1.17 files early, there they are. I'll put a link in the description below the video. So if you're familiar with these files, you can click on that and you can click through. Later on today, on the 19th, I'll be releasing the video that explains a little bit more about them. So what do I do when it comes to updating all these servers? Well, I have a list of things I go through, and this might be useful to you. So 1.17 update process, I just open up a simple text file, and the important things for me is making sure that I don't lose all of the custom objects and the custom loot that I've created over the last few months on these servers. So on each server, if we go into one and have a look, say if we take 1C, this is a Churnerus Nitrado server. If we go into the file browser, then go into the missions, and we go into the Churnerus, because it's a Churnerus folder, and we go into the custom folder. So these are 3 custom areas that are on this particular server. So I've got to make sure that when I reset my files to default, so they get all the new ones, the CFG gameplay that refers to these will be knocked out. So I've got to make sure that if I go down to cfggameplay.json now, and then what I want to do is copy this line here. See the object spawner array line there? So what I do is I copy that out. Here we go. And I paste that into my file. And then the other thing I copy as well is I copy the base building stuff as well. So let's just scroll down a bit. So here we have base building data. So this is the one that has all the stuff about you can build anywhere, basically, because all my servers are player versus environment. I like people to be able to build anywhere. And I copy that as well. Now that's the same for all of the servers. Now the other thing I need to make sure I copy out of the server before it changes is the extra loot that I've added in the map group pos. Now, map group pos sometimes can be difficult to get hold of. Like, here we go. So there's map group pos. Now, for some reason, Nitrado isn't letting me open it in the web interface. So what I do is I download it. There it is. And I open that up in Notepad++. And then the way that I add my extra loot data, it's always at the top. So I just copy that out and I paste that into here. And so we've got all that sort of stuff. So I know that when I update my servers, I can go back into them once I've done the whole update process, and I can add back in the object spawner array part. I can add in the map group POS XML snippet, and I can add back in the base building data snippet as well. And that, for me, that's the critical thing. So I do that for all 6 of my servers, so I've got all that information. Now, when actually the update happens this afternoon, there's an order that I do things in. So what will happen is that at sometime today, sometime this afternoon, I'll get a notification from Nitrado. If you've got the Nitrado app on your Nitrado app on your phone, it will come through as a notification, or it comes through in the web browser in these kind of notifications you see here, where it will say your servers have been updated. But when it updates the servers, it's only updating the files that we don't see, the DayZ server.exe files, things like that. It doesn't update all the XMLs. So what you've got to do on your servers at that point, you've got to realise that that's a fact, and make sure you've got copies of all your modded files and you've already updated them. I've addressed that in previous videos. So for me, when I get that notification, I'm like, okay, so now it's time to update my XMLs. So what I'll do then is I'll then download the DayZ Churnerous folders files, which I've already got on my PC here. So these are all the updated ones. But before I apply those, I want to reset all the other files to original, because you don't always know what Bohemia Interactive have changed. So what I do is I go to Settings, General. I scroll down to the Reset Mission XML to Default. So I tick that, I save it, and I restart the server. Then all the XMLs will then change to 117. And then the way that you can check that, if you want to, is you can go into the types.xml and search for the kitchen timer. And if that's there, you know you've got the latest XMLs. And then once I've done that, I untick that and I save it and I restart the server. So the server is then, it's a vanilla server, and it's kind of ready for my files. And then basically I just go back into the file browser and I'll go to upload, and I go to my 117 files and I upload the relevant files into the relevant folder. So if you use my modded files, you know that there's several files that go into the main folder, and then there's a few files that go into the DB directory. And then I save and then I restart. Now once I've done that, this is when I've now got to go back in and then add in those snippets we took out earlier. So at this point I would then go back to the main folder. I would go back into CFG gameplay.json, and then per server I would go back in and I would then paste in the base building data and then the object spawner line in the CFG gameplay.json. And then I would go to the map group POS. Now again, the map group POS probably still won't be available, so what you've got to do then is you just download it and then you edit on your local PC, save, re-upload, and then restart, and then that's it really. Then I just ask everybody on my Discords to, can you please go in and check to see everything's working. Now that's it for console. Now if you're doing it on PC, it's a little bit different, because you don't have in your settings, you don't have the option to reset Mission XML to default. It's not simply there. You need to get a copy of the 117 XMLs in order to use them. Now there's a few ways of doing that, and you're probably familiar with them. You could do a server reinstall, but that's obviously going to wipe everybody's progress, people's characters, their bases and everything like that. Bohemia Interactive will update their GitHub to 117, but that might not happen for a few days. Sometimes it can be really slow. The best way I find of getting it is if you are on Steam. Here we go. What you want to do is you want to be subscribed. You're in Games and Tools, or yours probably just says Games at the moment. Make sure you've got Tools ticked. And if you slide down to DayZ, you want to make sure that you are subscribed to the DayZ server. Okay, and you want to install the DayZ server. And then at some point this afternoon, normally after when the main games have been updated, the DayZ server will be updated. and you'll find that in the same place where DayZ is on your computer. So probably something like Program Files, Steam Apps Common, and you'll see DayZ, and then you'll have DayZ Server. And when you go into DayZ Server, you can do exactly the same thing. You go into the missions file, you can go to Cherners Plus, you can check the in the DB directory, check the types to make sure that it's got the kitchen timer, so you know you've got the 117 files, and that's all of the XMLs, and then you can upload those to your Nitrado server, and then restart it, and then start that whole process of adding back in the building data and the object spawner array data and the map group pos data as well. Okay, so hopefully that's been useful. Looking forward to playing 117 in a few hours' time. If you've got any questions or anything, put them down below, of course, and let's enjoy the continuing development and improvement of our favourite game. That's enough from me, and I'll see you again soon.